also known as KRAAB, and we have Robbert, whose speciality is found sound. Do you go by any other names, Robbert? Okay, so it's just Robbert, and then myself, DedKO, as your regular host. So we shall talk about. So this evening we're going to find out what these two fantastic musicians get up to, how they develop their sounds, get their inspirations, just a bit of background. What do they do now? Stuff. Bits and pieces on sound design, and some demos as well of what they do and what they get up to. So I'll let them introduce themselves further. Robbert, want to go first? Wow, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And Simone? Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a quite a big difference. So you got techno on one hand, and then what does your band do? What sort of music? Mm. Right. So, right. Wow, that's really cool. So you're applying a lot of production techniques from punk. Yeah, Robbert? Very cool. Right. Right. Okay. So you can figure out the melody. You just work out a riff, and you can add lib and just do a guitar solo, and then you figure out what sort of riff you like and apply it to, and then turn it into melodies, notes on Ableton or the synthesizer. Right. Very cool. So. And so I'm also fascinated with the entire FX chain that you use. So is that production techniques from punk rock kind of band, but applied to synthesizers. I mean, that's quite a contrast, huh? Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, marvelous. And Robert, do you have a similar sort of approach? Because found sounds is quite radically different because you start from a very different source. Oh.
Nothing like that. And I don't even use a keyboard that much. It's more like there seems to be an audio glitch. Should we fix that first?
Yeah, sorry, because they're not hearing us. They only hear you, Nikesh. Some friends are on YouTube, and there's no sound coming out from me and Robert at all.
I think it should be.
Let's check.
Testing.
Let's check now. Yes, now they hear us.
Yep.
Hi.
There we go.
So we have
Hello
to
again.
again now.
So shall we do a quick recap of the same thing?
Let's
Simone,
do that.
go again. Yeah. There's always one more bug. Hulzen. Hulzen.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. I'm Robert. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for having me here, Nikesh. I am a drummer by training, by background. I did some electronics around like 2005. Got a bit bogged down in just the puzzles in figuring out stuff, which was really cool to do, but it wasn't very musical. Then we've got an echo. Is the echo just with me? The echo is just with me. Cool. Then I left electronics, kind of lost touch a bit, and then a few years ago I got back into it. I was asked to replace someone for a theater production. He used Mainstage, which I then did for that replacement job when they asked me again to do the next piece from scratch. I went back to Ableton. It was version 9 at that point. I'd stopped at 4. And then I got back into that. So then it was quite live oriented. And then I started to produce more as well. And then a couple of years ago, I kind of gave myself the task. Every new moon, I produced a track. Also in those days, I did the electronic music course at the SAE. So I had a lot of people around me, a lot of inspiration from that. And then last year I did a project using only found sounds. I invited people to send me sounds from their daily lives, which could be their dog tripping over something or their toilet flushing, or it could be their double bass playing, whatever. I've some musician friends, obviously. So there was some of that as well. And I turned that into a number of tracks. And one of those, I did one track for a film of a friend of mine, like a 5-minute film clip. And that's the one I'd like to show you a bit of tonight. I guess, yeah. Oh, it could be pretty organic, I imagine. Nice example, Nikesh. Just sit in the street all day, going like, I rigged the traffic lights. It should be any time now. With my little Zoom recorder. Good idea.
Hi guys, thank you so much, Nikesh, for inviting us in this amazing event. I'm very happy to be here and to share my knowledge with you guys. So a little bit about myself. I started mainly as a DJ. So when I was 12, 13 years old, playing some records of my brother or my dad, some 80s music. And yeah, I was really fascinated by the electronic world, let's say. Even though I had experience mainly with live bands after, so also with because I'm a guitarist and a singer, so playing punk. We started with a Nirvana cover band back then, and then we developed.
Nice.
Yeah, that was back in Italy. Now I live in the Netherlands, and I have another band here. But yeah, that's my background basically, and I've been producing techno music also, and this is my love, let's say, and all with Ableton. That's the first software that I've been using, also because of of its capability to play live with this software. So that's why I never let it go. So I always use it, and now I try to bring my experience with live music with my techno music. So I approach the my techno music. Music production as I would be as I would be in the studio with the band. So I try to recreate my pedal board. Let's say that's my sound. I try to replicate that in my synths or pads or whatever it's needed for my songs. And this is and today I will show you. Actually, I'll show you something special for me because it's a song that is going to be released next month with the Ushuaia Records, and it's not out yet. So I want to show you how I create that song, and yeah, it's not it's still unreleased, but I thought it was something interesting to just show you the new thing I'm working on. The name of the track is called Taipei, and I call my tracks like in the city names basically, and yeah. I've never been to Taipei, but I would love to be there because I was always fascinated by the buildings. I'm in love with skyscrapers, so for me, the Taipei 101 was like one of my favorite buildings so far. So no, but and also I write the songs imagining where I would like to play that song. So I try to create a vibe and I try to create what I think I would play if I would be in that situation, in that place. So there's another song called Berlin, another song called Amsterdam, Warsaw. So I mean, all these songs they are contextualized in the place I would like to play them. So that's my approach. So
I'm not sure there's a fixed pattern really. It starts with maybe it starts with it being inspired by a sound, actually. Although in the case of this track, I was sent, my friend Diana Bashur, she was making this film, and she sent me a lot of the footage that she was collecting for all very abstract images. And meanwhile, I had this idea of we're locked down, so let's find stuff around this studio. So with my Zoom recorder, I can actually show you the sound sources that I used. So here's cymbals. You might have seen it behind me as well. There's a lot of cymbals hanging here. So I hit the cymbals and record, and then cut the attack. So it's just the resonance. This is a shell that you can blow. This is my bowl for breakfast. Could have been cleaner, actually. Which I hit with a wooden spoon while it was floating in water. So there's that sound. There's a drop in that same bowl from the tap. That took a long time to record well. There's a little drum, so one of these shaky drums. There's a siren. There's a big horn, which actually sounds like that. There's the door of the fridge, indispensable, great kick drum. There's the, whatever that's called in English, afdraaibrek. When you do the dishes, you put it in a rack. It's one of those metal IKEA ones, and I hit it with a fork at different velocities. Use that, and then I just dropped a bunch of pens on top of each other, pens and pencils and stuff. So for this one, I really was inspired by those sounds. I made a number of like shorter ideas focusing on one of those sounds, and then started reassembling that. So this project, it's also a complete mess, the project. There's so many like source tracks, there's a lot of sketches and stuff, and in the end I pulled everything to the front that I actually wanted to use, but there's still all this other stuff is still in there as well. So in this case, I really started from the sound. Absolutely. Yep. So share screen, go to live. All right. So we have this. This is the film. I keep it open in a small window. Yeah. I'll just start by. Oh fuck, the buttons are covered by the screen share business. Let's do something about that. So there we go. So let's just start, and then I can get into how I made these different things. It starts with actually the drop sound. Yeah, I'll just play you a bit before, otherwise I'm talking about stuff that you have no idea. one was it started again. I tried to switch this off, but so that's the track. Do you still hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about what's going on. So in the beginning, it's just a drop with, where the hell are you? Ah, there, cluster drip. So there's a lot of, like for instance, this, it's just a bunch of MIDI notes, which run into the arpeggiator. In general, I'm doing it's most stuff is random. It's all very sort of generative. So in this case, it's an arpeggiator. The velocity is also different. This is just a channel strip. So there's a lot of that. There's a background audio drop sound that I don't really remember how I did that. This one. So it's also the dripping, but I think it's like ridiculously reverbed and then compressed. And it's not slowed down, but sorry. Yeah, it's a lot of layers of these different drops, but I think it's just drowned in reverb and then compressed like crazy, so the reverb really gets pulled up. And then it's these drops, which also go through a grain delay and then more reverb. So that's that. Then what I like here, it's this siren. It's actually this thing. So you can. The neighbors will come running. Yeah, so that you hear that as a bass, but it's also here. And what I like doing with these things, and that's actually something I've also used a lot with other sounds as well. I'll take 2 layers or sometimes more. I'll detune them. So this one's minus 27 cents and the other is what, 46. I double the tracks. Oh, so I actually soloed only one. Double the tracks and pan them hard right, hard left. And that is how there's a lot of this. Well, this is actually this one's also high pass like crazy because it just needed to be this little squeeze. But here it's the same trick, and then just compressed in the. But it's left and right, and in this case I didn't do that. But what I also really like that I'll find an example of that maybe is it is on that one maybe. It's one of them is delayed by 10 milliseconds. This is a trick that you probably all know. It's called the Haas effect. If you've got 2 channels, you delay one of them by anything between 10 and 15 milliseconds, you really spread the stereo image. All of a sudden it sounds super wide. And I use that as well. For instance, in the bowl sound here. So there's what I've called a glitch delay. It does the same thing. Where are you? Sorry, I need to. Lots of autopan, of course. Let's unsolo this and let's see. There is it soloed. I don't hear anything. What did I forget? There we go. So I think it's this one. Yeah. So as you can see here, this thing is going all over the place. So it's the Haas effect. It's the delay left and right, but one of them is run by a LFO, which of course has got jitter on because it has to be more unpredictable, and then smoothened a little bit because it got a little bit too weird. So you just get this. Oh. So you get these varying delay times, which I really like. So that's a few ideas from there. Let's look at the groove a bit, or if we can also move to Simone first, if you prefer.
I think it's brilliant because it's so unique. I mean, you are creating your own sounds. You have your sound, basically your sound. You can make a sound pack basically, and like that. This is great. I mean, it's the I think, in my opinion, is the most unique way to make music, to build your own samples, your own sound, because then it's only you basically, and it's very difficult, in my opinion, to do that, and it's very well done.
I think there's one huge disadvantage, and I'm really running into that now. Also, when I want to speed up production a little bit, I don't have a lot of samples from sample packs, and I've always kind of felt like using loops. Is that really a good idea? And at this point, I'm realizing, yes, it's really a good idea. You can, of course, cut them up and reverse them and invert them and do all kinds of things. But I really need to start using sounds that were actually already made by someone else, because making everything myself, I find it difficult. In this one, it worked out quite well, but I find it difficult to have music that is like full enough. More than, and of course, I mean, I'm not saying that all music should be super busy. I really enjoy like minimal stuff as well, but to kind of feel that it fills the room, not necessarily with activity, but with sound. And that is something that I find very difficult when I design all my own sounds. Also, I bought Serum a few months ago. I've been doing a lot of sound design in that, but to go just with your own presets and so on, I really need to start learning how to use presets and how to use sample packs and loops and all of that. I think that's for me the big next step, because I cannot do everything.
It reminds me a lot about Aphex Twin when I listen to these things.
Wow. Thank you.
I love him. It's really I really connected to that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Yes. Oh.
I have my biggest influence for producing techno. It's Stefan Bodzin. Stefan Bodzin is a producer from Germany, DJ, and it's quite comes from the same background. Let's say. I mean, yeah, it's a big word, I know, but he was a bass player for metal bands, and now he's producing techno, melodic techno. But his approach is very live, so he plays his own songs, his own techno songs, in a live way, all with Ableton, with a custom controller they made for him. And it's a concert at all the effects, so it's just like he builds up the tracks, he plays the bass and he kicks, and then he's a very big user of Moog synthesizer, so he has his sub 37 and then he makes MIDI clips passing by, so he can tweak with this huge filter knob that's so amazing to tweak, like So I've been seeing him live many times, and to me, it's one of my examples to follow. And of course, also Artbat, I like them a lot. I like the sound. I think they have I think they're one of the best sounds in that style, in the melodic techno. Artbat, and Tale of Us also, all the Afterlife, also the Anjuna record, all this kind of. I like what they do, and I inspire myself to them. Yeah, but Stefan Bodzin, I think, is my favorite because he's using this electronic music in a live way, which is something that I like, and that's my approach as well. Yeah, sure. So I would love to. Yeah, Taipei is the second song of my upcoming EP. The EP is called Resilience. I know it's a big word nowadays, But yeah, the first EP I made is called Moving Forward. So I'm really trying to convince myself that we're gonna get through it. But this upcoming EP, it's Taipei is in it, and other songs are the two city names. I like to name my songs after cities, as I said before. And Taipei, it's a bit special for me because it's I think it's one of the songs that makes me that makes me travel a lot, with my mind as well. Spend lots of time I will share my screen if you don't mind, and let's see. I think you guys can see it. All right. So brief introduction, basically how if you for someone who is interested in how I work, I try to be very organized as much as I can, because that's what really makes me be more efficient in terms of producing and also not losing myself. So first things I do, I set up a lot of favorites. All my effects are here, the ones that I use the most. So favorites, effects, synths, guitar to create movement, compressor that I use. When I have vocals to process, I have my plugins, my favorite ones here. So this really helps me a lot in the flow of, okay, I'm doing a guitar part, okay, boom, I go there and I see everything that I need for the guitar part. I'm doing a synth part, okay, I might start from those. And that really speeds up, because otherwise I really saw that I elevate my production by 20% at least of time consuming. So, but yeah. Yeah, and also I see that by doing that I force myself to not use a lot of things that you might get lost, like 10 compressors, or I mean, I try always to stick with what works with me, to make the preset that I like, and then that defines also my sound, believe it or not. Because if you always use the same things, it's like if you have that guitar, you always play with that guitar, with that settings, that's the sound. I mean, you cannot really change it so much. So I like to, me, having less, it really drives me to be more creative with what I have, instead of having 10,000 different effects or ad libs or loops. Then I get, I just overwhelmed. I don't even know what to use anymore. So the same with loops. The things that I use the most are here, and I know exactly what I need when I need it. And colors, they help me a lot. Like when I do my tracks, this is the Taipei, so I have, these are my main groups. So I have low percussion, which includes kick and whatever is low percussion for me. So toms, something that is low ending, and that serves a special treatment, I think. Then you have high percussion. So here I have all my shakers, my hi-hat, my clap, whatever, it's high percussion. That also deserves a different treatment in the mix because of frequencies and also to glue them things together. Then I have my bass, which of course is also very important. And then you have the sub bass, the mono bass. Maybe you have a stereo bass also. Yeah, in this case I have it. So I use Serum for that. I love Serum. But I also use a lot for my main part. This is the melodic bass. And plucks. Here I have my melodies, basically, what I design with my guitar. So this I just play them with my guitar here, and then I try to MIDI map them. Sometimes I even convert the guitar part MIDI, because it's too difficult for me to just draw it again. So you have a function that you can convert audio to MIDI. It doesn't.
How does that work for you?
Yeah, when I am, if I'm doing very easy melody, it works very, 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 very nicely. Of course, if I do like a shredding, but I'm not really that type of guitarist, but that's gonna be a little bit more tricky, I think. But yeah, like this is something that I played with my guitar, like the main riff of this song, basically.
And that you rendered to MIDI and then assigned an instrument to it. Cool.
And then I duplicate it to make more space. And usually I always do like this. I take what I like a melody, and then I make 2 or 3 times. I duplicate or triplicate even. I put higher octaves probably, or I pan left and right. I mean, like this, it sounds like a little bit more, thick. And I love to put amplifier. So here I have this amazing plugin, which is a guitar amplifier, and it's used to, it's very useful if you have guitars. But I like to put this on synth because I don't know why, but they sound more, I don't know. It sounds a bit more powerful. So I love it. Just to show you something very quickly. This is with, this is without. Subtle, but with. So it's more. It doesn't really distort your sound, but it puts it up. Like it's in
more presence.
Then I have a lot of real instruments also, because I like to play real instruments. So this is a Juno, synthesizer. I recorded. A friend of mine gave it to me. I like, please borrow it from me because I want it. And I just play, and then I recorded the audio of it. And I have everything here. Yeah. Shall we listen to 1 minute of the track, if you don't mind?
A little more.
Yeah. Breakdown. Hello, you hear me? Okay, so this is a small preview from a bit of breakdown and then the drop.
Ooh.
Yeah, there is some quite some channels, but I try to be as minimal as I can, but sometimes I really need to add elements just to highlight the main sound or riff. So I'm having a lot of things going on, but they're very subtle. Like, for example, these pads here, the ethereal pads. They just add this church element, And this is just the main bass, but it's filtered. So together You have the low end and the percussive thing that it's sidechained to the pluck, so together. So yeah, I mean, I like to. They are basically the same melody, and I just change the sound, and I also try to work with the frequencies. I mean, every instrument has its own frequencies range, so you need to try to make room to have instruments to let's not fight over the same range of frequencies, even though if you listen them on their own, they sound like not really tempting, but together they have to work. So I like to mix. I like to actually, while mixing, while I'm producing, I'm already mixing basically. So it's like I'm trying to do that as much as I can, because it's the biggest part of then the mastering is just putting the volume up. And to me, I prefer to do that. I prefer to work a lot in the mix and really find the pit holes and then the troubles there, rather than okay, it's gonna be sound okay when I master it. No, if the mix sounds wrong, it's wrong always.
Do you master it yourself?
Yeah, I try to do it on my own, and also I do it with my brother. So he's also very good in that. So he helps me with that, and also I have a friend which he is a very good mastering engineer, and we work together sometimes. But usually this track like this is how this project I did everything on my own. Well, thank you. I just sometimes I like to check here and there, and I try to listen the song to as many speakers as I can. So if that sounds good in stupid speaker, it's okay. So sometimes I'm missing some information and I have to go back and then okay, yeah, I mean I miss that range of frequencies, and then I lose them in another box speaker set. So I mean it's tricky. Mastering is an approach, and it's also experience thing. And of course you have to have a room treated and stuff, but it's mainly about you have to have a lot of experience in that. So but that's beyond a bit of music production. I mean, music production it's itself very huge, and you cannot really do everything on your own, even though it would be the best. But actually, I like to send my tracks to someone else, because a different pair of ears, they can do things that I will never do, and maybe I don't like it, but and in the end, music is heard by people. So many more people work on that thing, on the track, the more opinion you have, and you have to filter. Then you make like an average, like mathematics, and then you the best of it. Yep.
So for this, if I can ask you something, Simona, in this, did you use to get back to what I just talked about, the pre-existing loops that you find somewhere else? Did you use any in this for your percussions, or
Yeah, definitely.
you did?
So when usually what I do, I create myself this is a template that I'm using that I create myself with time. So I try to start with this. This is my starting point always, and then I just try to change things. But usually I use samples from my favorite sample pack. It's from Kashmir.
Right.
I have to say, I have to tell it. I think everyone is using that in electronic music scene, because they sound really good to me, and I like the approach that okay, this sample pack has been used in a lot of super amazing records that are worldwide hits. So even though I don't like that style of music, but I don't. I have to recognize that those samples are really high quality, and that helped me a lot. So I take them and then I apply my processing on them.
Yeah.
But for the kick, I'm very. I try to use always kicks that are, you see here, in the key of my song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to use. I find a very good sample kick. I can either make myself one with a kick generator. I use a kick generator sometimes also, but most of the time I have a lot of kicks which are in different keys, and they are tuned perfectly for that song. So I don't really do a lot of processing on the kick, as you can see. I mean, here a little bit because I wanted to sound a little bit more punchy, so I saturated a bit, and then I compress it, and then I compress it again, and I filter out because I always use the filter for for when when I want to slow down a little bit. But yeah, generally I'm using samples which are high quality as much as I can, tuned perfectly for my song. So in this case, G sharp and hi hat stuff like this, shaker. Yes, there are most of the samples are from that pack or.
Yeah. So here I see. No, he also just isolated one hit.
Yeah, this is a loop that was from that pack, and I like that loop, but I didn't like all the loop. I only like that hi-hat from that loop.
Yeah.
So I just isolated what I needed from with the sampler here, and apply my EQ, and that's it. Yeah.
So it still seems that you program your drums to a
Yeah.
very large and very detailed extent, rather than using a top loop from someone else.
Yeah, no, I take the bass line from someone else because I don't have a drums here to play myself the sample. But also, I really trust that these people are very professional, so their quality, the sounds, the samples are very high quality. But then I apply my own knowledge in that because
Yeah.
I sometimes I don't like that sound, or I like it but doesn't sound good in my production. So I have to glue it up together with what I do. So I need to compress, use parallel compression to compress together all the high percussion to make them sound as one. Apply the same reverb so it sounds like they are playing in the same room.
Some space.
Yeah, stuff like this. Yeah. But yeah, I start. For example, sometimes I even create my own. For example, when in the effects here, I have a little bit more fun. Like for example, the noise riser, it's a serum. So I play with serum. So this one. As you can hear it. So basically, it's just like a white noise. It's a simple white noise. You can also do it with Wavetable with the Ableton one.
Can you open Serum? Because I see that you're automating an LFO.
Yeah.
I'm curious what that's doing.
So basically, this is like the simple preset of the serum, and then I have a macro here, and it's just for the gain basically.
Okay.
And I have a filter, and I apply the vocoder. I find myself that vocoder is always it's really cool when you have white noise. I don't know, that vocoder adds something amazing, so I always use it. So this is my chain, and I always use when I have to do like a. Oh, sorry. So when I have to do any effects, risers or something, I use that chain that I create myself, or I have one also for the vocals, and I use where is it? Vocal effects here. Yeah, the impact. But this is another sample that I'm using for Kashmir, and then I cut the beginning because I didn't want that boom huge explosion. I just wanted the tail. So
Yeah.
I mean, you just play with them, but they give you a bit. To me, they give me a bit of a lot of a help because I don't have to, worry too much about it. I know whatever I pick from there is good. So then I can apply myself. Or like here, all the song has this kind of background of the vinyl.
Mm.
Don't know if you can hear it, but it's like this. So it's like record playing all the time on the background. Yeah,
Where
like
does it come? Where does it
the,
come from? Because I see you have the utility on that track.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
it's audio. Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
like audio,
Yeah.
and yeah, this is just purely recorded from. Later on, I also bought a plugin that does it, so I don't have to do these things, these old school things anymore. I just do it with this great plugin from Mixer and Out. These guys are great, by the way. Yeah? And I have this plugin which is called Retro Color, and man, this is great. I want to use it everywhere all the time. It's like whatever I do, vocals, guitar, noise, I use that. And they have this kind of preset. The vinyl one gives you this kind of
Hmm.
you can intensify it or less, but it's also this plugins, this sound, it's in that famous record from what was like DJ Snake, like dun, 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 I don't remember. Yeah, I think you can hear through all the record like this kind of thing that really adds a lot to the songs, and but you don't pay attention to it because you like, yeah, I don't care. But yeah, I just, yeah, what we do, we copy from the best and we try to implement this to our own production. So in all my songs you can always hear this kind of mud behind. Mm.
And you run it just like that, right? You don't sidechain it to anything.
Sometimes but this one I
In this
just
case,
run it like that. Yeah, because it's very subtle, you don't really hear it. And I have, yeah,
it just
I
adds space.
like the background noises, I don't like to say chain them because otherwise they would sound quite weird to me. So I sidechain everything, like, well, everything. I sidechain a lot, but of course percussions, these things, the bass. So it depends what you want to say, or even vocals, yeah, whatever. But background noises, I like to keep them out. Like also the effects, like the effect section that I have. It's not really sidechained sometimes because I want to just create some kind of impacts, or usually when these things happen, it's like a break or a drop or a
Yeah.
pre-drop. So I want to leave them out from the glue, so you can feel more. Usually another trick that I do, I don't know if it's a trick, but I just do it, and I automate the master volume, which is like, why do you do that? But yeah, in my breaks, I go 1 dB lower. It's nothing, but still, when the drops come, since my ability to make things explode still are not at its greatest, like when I listen to a record from, I don't know, Artbat or whatever, which they have the best mastering engineer in the world to work with. But to me, lower myself at 1 dB or 2 dB and then go back to the drop at 0 dB. That's
Hmm.
already like if someone put my knob to 11. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know. That's something that I find myself that I like it. So yeah, maybe I'm crazy, but probably I don't know. But
Yeah.
uh-huh. Okay,
Wow. That's a
that's
cool
a very
trick.
good one. Yeah, in the end, like when we do music, it's like we have to. I approach it like a live music band. So I want dynamics in my songs. So this is what makes me, this is what I like. So nowadays we used to compress things as much as they're becoming these huge sausages, like, because everything has to be so compressed, because they have to sound loud and louder and louder. But I think we are going I hope we're going to the direction now, which, at least in my production, I like to hear dynamics. So I don't like to hear that it has to be so compressed, like a live band. Now they play softer, then they play louder. So by maintaining this dynamic range, I think music gets way more interesting and alive, rather than just having this super loud kick or this bass that kills everything, which is nice. But yeah, it's not in my style. It's not how I approach music. But this track, it will come out with the whole EP 19 of April, Beatport exclusive, with Ushuaia Records. It's a record label from Budapest.
Mhm.
And Spotify, all the other platform, I think it's 3 of May. And but yeah, on Spotify, on KRAAB, you can listen to the ones I did before, so my other songs. And of course, if you guys appreciate that a lot, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I put like 5 songs in my Spotify, and now 3 more are coming, and that's with my solo project. Yeah, and then I have a lot of other demos which I'm waiting. Yeah, I want to give them to other labels and check if they like it. But yeah, try to basically, yeah, produce music a lot, and that's my main occupation at the moment. And try to also, I wait a lot of years until to release something out, even though I was working since a long time, but I wasn't happy enough of the result. So I needed really to put my hands to understand how I had a sound in my head, because yeah, I wanted to achieve a result, but I wasn't able to capture that. So that took me a lot of years to fine tune and understand, and fail and make songs that sounded like terrible. And even, yeah, you never stop learning. But yeah, I was always a bit, no, I shouldn't put it out. When I listened something out, I was like, wow, this is amazing, and I'm not that amazing. So but in the end, now I think the opposite. I think that the more music I produce, the more I do it, the better I become. And I think it's a never ending thing.
Yeah.
The musician, all the time, never ending. Yeah.
Do you play live as well? Do you DJ with your own stuff?
Yeah. That's why I use Ableton a lot, because it allows me to play live, also with my solo project as a DJ set, but also with the band. So to
And with
everyone,
your solo project, I'm asking there's also for a reason because I'm trying these 7 lockdown tracks. I put them in a big live set with some other ambient sounds, and I use them for a theater production. Um, First, I just rendered the some bits of the master, which is without the mastering plugins, of course, but uh, so and switch all the effects off on the master track, but then render just the master of these tracks bit by bit. Then I realized I want more flexibility. I want to have the bass separate and so on. I want to be able to filter stuff, affect stuff. But when I render them individually as tracks, stuff happens to, for instance, all of a sudden the kicks were very, very quiet. There's a lot of stuff that I think I'm not doing it quite right just yet. I was wondering if you ran into any trouble at some point, and if you have any tips on how to do this, you can actually use it flexibly without losing sound quality.
yeah. Well, usually what I do, it's I have a project. So let's say I recreate that song live. So I just render all my stems. usually I also render the groups. So for example, the high percussion group, I don't want to say, I don't want to have every track separate because that doesn't
No,
make
no.
sense. So I render the whole group and then it plays, as a clip. I have my push to, I play I play the clip and then it's going. For the bass, mainly I do automations live with the synth, let's say. So I replay the melody. Also
Great.
because I don't want to stress too much the CPU, because live you always know that if your CPU can handle 100 in live settings, you need to think about 10 or 5. So because yeah, at least if you don't have like a supercomputer next to you, must still there. I don't recommend you to use too many plugins. Yeah, that's why render tracks like with the master chain on. Of course, the tracks has to be mastered because that's how the sound
You don't
is.
put the because I now have the mastering chain in my live set, like the set that I used to play live.
Well, I
So it
recommend
gets
you could try also to
okay.
remove the master chain. So you remove CPU, you remove plugins in the CPU system. You save,
That's
and then
true.
you can use, for example, more plugins to tweak the plugins live. You can automate an LFO. You can automate something in the plugin itself, and then you will run in less trouble. But I recommend you to use stems mastered.
Okay, cool. Send something into a glitchy space or a verby space or yeah. 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 Yeah, that I have. I have a effects chain on my master before the mastering plugins, with a high pass, a low pass, reverb, a few things, and of course I've got my sends with, which are actually kind of populated with not just a big and a small reverb, but one distortion reverb with a lot of compression, and it's like four very identifiable or a very specific effects change on my returns. But render them with mastering. Cool. Thanks. I'll try that.
Yeah, to me works the best because it's I'm always running with CPU troubles, and but at the same time you want to try to replicate as much as close as you can what you are doing live, like you're doing on a record. So if you put some music out, it's mastered. So when you play live, you want people hear your final version. So the
Yeah.
mastered.
Mm. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Music is,
Very inspiring. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much. Are we going to hear any of your music though? Okay. Cool. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And you. Bye bye.